It's good to be alive. Was macht man? I want to open up with a teaching from the Zohar. Is that okay? Do I have your permission? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Rabbi Elazar said, oh my God, he said, B'yomei Enosh, in the days of Enosh. Enosh was the great grandson, no, he was the grandson of Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, right? Adam and Chava had Seth in English, and Seth had Enosh, right? In the days of Enosh, Havu Hakimin b'nei Nosho, b'chochma, b'chareshin, b'kosmin, b'chochmot, or the metzal chele dishmayo. In the days of Enosh, people were involved in the wisdom of mystical manipulation that they applied to acts of sorcery and rituals by which they would manipulate the spirit beings, the weavers that the Creator has sent into the world to be the messengers of the Creator's intent. V'lo havo ba'anosh miyoma denofak odom miginto de Eden, and no human being from the day that Adam and his woman left the Garden of Eden, ve'apik imei chochmoto de tov ve'ilono, and they took with them the leaves that they had plucked to make their girdle, and took it with them, took those leaves with them, the ishtadalba, that in any way involved themselves in those leaves. What does that mean? Again, from the time that Adam and Eve left the garden, they took with them the leaves by which they had covered themselves initially. no human being had ever studied the power of these plants. De ha'adam ve'itze wa'inun de nafkumine, because Adam and his woman and all those who emerged from them, ati ata Enosh, until the days of Enosh, until Enosh came into the picture, shavikula, they abandoned the study of these leaves. In other words, there was some wisdom that they sensed in these leaves, in these fig leaves, but whatever it was that they studied in it and whatever powers were inherent in those leaves, they abandoned its study. Ati ata Enosh, until Enosh came to the scene. Chat ata Enosh, but when Enosh came to the scene, Chamalon, he looked into it. He felt something very mystical, spiritual about these plants. And he noticed when playing with the leaves that they had the power to alter and manipulate the celestial beings, the spirits of the world that were involved in, again, weaving creation into continuously becoming and being. And he really took it and opened up a school and studied it. And the Avdin Aviditin, the Harshin, the Kosmin, and employed the leaves and learned to read other leaves as well, learning from the fig leaves that leaves in general had powers beyond the corporeal, and began to really indulge himself in all of this and practice it in ways of sorcery and rituals. Ve'olifu minhon, and he became a great teacher and studied and learned from them, to the point that he just couldn't contain it, and he began to teach it to others. And the wisdom of the leaf reading, as it was called in the Zohar, spread out among the generation all the way to the time of the generation of the flood. And of course, it gets into the wrong hands, things like this eventually, and it was misused. It was used the av asha, which means for displeasing ends. And he also, people began to use this wisdom as an argument to overpower Noah's argument to the people whenever he would counter them and counter their mockery of him building an ark. He said not to worry about a flood. Why? Amre, they said to him, Lo yochil dino de almo lishra alayhu. The judge of the universe has no power to do anything to us. The hol inun of the chochmoto the dachya the chol inun more de dino, because we have within us the knowledge of the leaves of the plant, by which we can maneuver and manipulate the spirit realms to the point that they cannot affect us. So we're safe. You go build your freaking ark. We got leaves and they got power. Because these plants, what we can receive from the power of them is enough to withstand any attempt by the spirit realm to affect us in any way. And thus from the time of Enosh, Shariu Kulha, everyone got into it. The Ishtadlu Be'ilein Chochmoton had to involve themselves in the study and in the mastery of these leaves, and the knowledge, the wisdom of leaf reading and the powers that are received from it. Chadahu dichtiv, and thus it is written in the Torah, right, in Genesis 4, Pasuk Chaf Vav, I think, 26. What does it say there? As soon as after Enosh comes in on the scene, what does it say? Was steht dort? Oz huchal likro b'shem Adonai. Then did people begin to conjure in the name of Adonai. Aha! So you see, there's a lot more to the plants. And you just sit there and you take it in and you drink all the juices of the ayahuasca and everything else. Be careful. What's the matter with you people? Huh? Plants have a lot of power. You got to learn about it. Damn it. Then you can drink it. But you know, there's so much to learn about the power and the magic of plants. This is in the Zohar, Chelek Aleph, and Daf Nun Vof 56, Alpha, Nun Vav Amud Aleph. Beautiful Zohar about the mystical power of leaves and the mastery of reading leaves. That leaves teach you. Leaves have power because they come from the tree. I'm telling me. You know, the tree. The tree. What's in the tree? A lot. See? So, you know, the plant, my friends, is so sacred that it is believed to be the very first presence of something in the unformed universe of nothing. In the ancient book of the Bahir, the Sefer HaBahir, right, attributed to the school, the mystical school of the first century, Rabbi Nechunya ben HaKoneh, right? So there we are told that at the very onset, the very beginning of Genesis, of Bereshit, Creator planted a tree known as the tree of existence. It's Hamahu. In the fertile emptiness of Genesis, God planted a tree of everything from which the entire universe would emerge and by which it would be nurtured. And the Creator then carved, like in a totem pole, carved the features of all the intended creations within this tree and called that tree, named it, gave it a name, called it the All. You think I'm making it up? Let's read the text. The original wording in the Sefer HaBahir, Mishnah number Chaf Bet 22, in which God revealed the following. Ani hu, baby, I am it. Shenotati ilan zeh, I planted that tree. Lehishtateh bo, lehishtasheh bo, kol ha'olam. For the entire universe to delight in. V'rakati bo kol, and I etched within it all. V'karati shemo, and I called its name Kol, all, the tree of all, the tree of everything. Shehakol talui bo, because all are dependent upon it. V'hakol yotzei mimenu, and all emerge from it. V'hakol tzerichim lo, and all are in need of it. Ubo tzofim, and all look within it. V'lo mechakin, and all long for it and yearn for it. Umisham, and it is from there, porchim haneshamot b'simcha, that the souls of all beings blossom forth to fruition in gladness. In other words, the world's very first totem pole wasn't with the Indians. It was with us. Our teachings, we got there before they stole everything from us. Never. They were there. Everybody was there. We're all children of Adam and Eve, right? Like the Talmud says, why did God create schools of fish and swarms of bees and prides of lions and herds of deer and flocks of geese and schools of fish and only one human? So that nobody can say, my ancestor is superior to yours. You want to talk yichus? There's yichus. There's yichus, baby. So, the first totem pole, the tree into which was engraved the imagery of every being which Creator intended to bring into existence, and out of which every being would sprout forth and blossom to fruition, into manifestation and animation. And sure enough, our creation story opens its chapter on the human side of the story with tree. The tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and thus also of not so good, both of which take center stage because both trees are planted smack in the center of the garden. How is it possible for two trees to be in the center? Center means center. That's a whole other teaching. There's some of the great ancient Kabbalists who posited that the tree of life and the tree of knowledge are the same tree. It depends how you come to it. Looking for life? It's the tree of life. You want to know everything? Comes the tree of knowledge and confusion. Good luck. Yeah. Yep, right? Bereshit, Perek Bet, Pasuk Tet. Both of them planted right in the middle. Now, the oral tradition of our people tells us that the proverbial tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden was not an apple tree. It was a fig tree. How do you know? Well, what did they put on right away? Apples, fig leaves, right? And it too, the Midrash tells us, sinned by allowing us to pluck its fruit when we were told not to. The tree should have stopped us. It says the great Shlah, the 16th century Rabbi Yeshayahu ben Avram. Instead, the tree loosened its grip on the forbidden fruit and allowed it to be released from its branch by our tugging at it, and then watched us eat it, while knowing fully well that we weren't supposed to. After all, trees, the Chachamim told us, right? What does the Midrash say about trees in Bereshit Rabbah, Perek Yud Gimel? It says, Hasichin The trees, they communicate, they speak, one with the other, and with all of creations. So the tree of knowledge should have communicated to us and said, no, don't do it, but it didn't. So the fig we ate then opened our eyes so wide that we felt naked before the one who knows all and is all, because our body awareness now became as vivid as our God awareness. And the contrast became now so overwhelming that it drove us to flee. And while we made every effort to get as far away from the place as possible, it was to no avail. And we continued to feel uncomfortable about being naked because the vividness of our sense of God presence failed to subside with geographic distancing, and our body awareness became more and more conspicuous with every step. And the contrast, which we had never before known, became increasingly bothersome and disconcerting. And so we wandered about uncomfortably naked and hungrily salivating with the taste of fruit now flavoring our tongues. It was the first fruit, by the way, that we had tasted. And we now hungered for more. And so we went from tree to tree, the Midrash says. Midrash Bereshit Rabbah, Perek Tet Vaf. We went from tree to tree, it says there, in search of more fruit. But to our dismay, every tree we went to turned us away and refused to let us pluck its fruit. Ganovim, they cried. Ganefs. Holding fast to their fruit, they called us thieves. And we refused to give to those who have taken what was not theirs to take. Very tragic. So in the beginning, we're told we could eat the fruit of all the trees. Mikol eitz hagon tocha. And now, having eaten of the one tree that we were supposed to avoid, we could not eat from any of them. So this is what the ancient rabbis meant when they taught. He who sets his eyes on that which is not his, what he desires is not given to him, and what he possesses is taken away from him. And so we wandered about looking and wandering and hungry for a tree that would let bygones be bygones, not hold it against us and grant us our wish for a nice, ripe and juicy fruit, any fruit. No success. Wherever we went, we were turned down. And we started feeling really uncomfortable. Don't you remember? This is a long time ago, but it must be in your memory, in your DNA. We started feeling uncomfortable about each other.
Wasn't so that long ago.
That's right. We looked into each other's eyes most of the time before that and feel our love for other in our hearts, and our admiration of other in our minds. Now we found ourselves primarily thinking about how we could be pleasured by other, and how our hearts and minds mostly lusted for fruit and for sex. The love we once felt toward one another was starting to become tainted. What can I give to other slowly began to morph into what can I get from other? And finally, after walking around the entire planet, we ended up, because the planet is round, back to where we started. And we found ourselves at the foot of the very same fig tree, exhausted. We dropped at the foot of its trunk and rested. It was the full moon period, by the way, of the month of Shvat. And we were cold, winter. We were naked, we were hungry. Then we heard the tree, the same tree that got us in trouble, say to us, "Here." A huge bundle of figs slowly fell onto our lap, still connected to its leaves, twigs, branches. "Enjoy," the tree said. "And if you're still uncomfortable around your nakedness, make for yourselves some covering from out of my leaves." Could we? Should we? Was it okay? After all, this was the very same tree that got us in trouble in the first place. We took the leaves and we made ourselves loin coverings. we then took the figs and we looked at them lovingly, longingly, and then we're about to put them down when, we don't want to do this again, but then we heard a still small voice, a bat call, whispering in our ears. It was God. No, he said, that the tree has been forgiven by virtue of reaching out to you to satiate your hunger and address your discomfort with your nakedness, having supplanted its mischievous intention with one of compassion. And this will be my sign that all is forgiven. I too shall make for you garments and dress you accordingly. And so it was, like it says in the Torah. Vayas Elohim ketoned or vayalbishem. And Adonai Elohim made for the man and the woman companion garments of skin and dressed them. I know it says Adam and his wife, but he wasn't married. There was no chuppah and kedushin. There was no officiator. There was no photographer. No caterer. There was no marriage. Come on. And from then on, wherever we wandered, the trees now gifted us their fruit abundantly, and their leaves, and the wisdom of their leaves, and did so with joy. And we were able to restore our focus on one another's hearts and minds a little better, to see the beauty within as well as without, to enjoy one another a little bit more in spirit, mind, and body, instead of one to the neglect of the other. And so every year, about that same time that we sat there and were restored by the tree that got us in trouble, which happens to be the full moon of what later became Shabbat, we celebrate this event. We celebrate the tree, their turnabout and compassion, how they opened up to us again and forgave us our trespass, and how, in the words of the ancient Chachamim, in the Gemara Sanhedrin, Daf Ayin Amud Beis, was it steht dort? The tree that afflicted you was the tree that healed you. And we lived happily ever after, and fruitfully so, So Tu B'Shvat is more than just no, it's very deep. It's a very deep festival, very deep celebration. The first flow of the sap of the life force within the trees, and the commemoration of our very close, intimate relationship, body, mind, and spirit, with the tree and its leaves. Of all of God's creations, the plant is the most important concept of what the Zohar calls satim golia. What does that mean? What does it mean? Hidden and revealed, right? Which is the nature of all existence. Everything is both concealed and revealed. Everything has its outward appearance and its inner essence. So that the essence of something, for instance, is nothing, out of which the something was called into becoming. Yesh me'ayin, right? So likewise, the tree, the plant, the leaf, the grass emerges from out of the hidden vaults of earth and seed, moving from out of the undefined toward the fruition of the specific intent, whether that intent be fruit, acorn, pine, leaf, and brings with it the wisdom by which the earth was created. Because how does the Creator create animals, trees, grasses? By way of the earth. Vayomer Elohim tacheh ha'oretz deshe. Elohim said, earth, bring forth. So in other words, the wisdom of Genesis, of creation, is in this rock that we call the Adamah, the Aretz, the Tzia, the Neshia, the Arka. We have many names for it. So that which comes out of earth, that which is opened by the wisdom of earth to then sprout forth and reveal itself, reveals also within it the wisdom, the heavenly wisdom that lies deep within the earth. I am the infinite all, not just in the heavens above, but Shemayim ma'al ba'al haaretz mitochas, underneath, deep, deep, deep underneath, right? We say it every day, Aleinu. Ba'al haaretz mitochas, right? That's where we get the word tuchas from. People don't realize that. You have to do a whole series on that. The Yiddish curse words that came out of the Hebrew. Yeah. And that's where the wisdom of the leaf comes from, the wisdom of the bark, the wisdom of the oil of the leaf, the wisdom of the aroma, the wisdom of the ketores, right? This is it. This all comes from the wisdom. What steht dort? Bechachma yosta oretz. With wisdom did you found the earth. See? So the chachma elokit, the godly wisdom, as we refer to it, is here. It's underneath our feet. We walk on it daily. It's under the cement if you live in the city. You know, it's there. And anything that's coming out of there is bringing with it that wisdom and says, Lamdeni, teach from me, learn from me, right? Everything has its wisdom. Everything is filled with it. Aha. The tree comes out of the hidden vaults of the earth with that chachma, and then it reveals the leaves, which is its inner intent. It says, read me. Ay. You know, like the ladder in Jacob's dream, right? Yine sulam mutzav orza. Wow, and ladder embedded in earth, the rosho b'shamayim, and its head, the top, is in the heavens. In other words, what is in the earth is the wisdom of the heavens, by which the earth then was able to respond to the Creator's calling, conjuring it, tache haaretz desha eser nazria. Earth, bring forth grasses. Earth, bring forth animals and creeping crawlies, and all those things. So in our creation story, trees and grasses, they're the first in line, right? The first beings were the trees and grasses. There were no sun, there were no star, no planet beings, nothing. The trees were the first. Day 3. And then suddenly, you turn the page to Perek Bet of Bereshit, they're gone. They're gone. No more, right? That's what it says. The Haya Terem Elohim lo himtir et hadama, right? And it was that there was no tree yet on the earth before all the grasses had sprouted, for God had not caused it to rain upon the earth. And yet no human was around to work the earth. Oh, interesting. So the trees and grasses are first in line in the first chapter, and then suddenly absent from the face of the earth. Why? Because they're awaiting the forces of Satim and Golia. They were only Satim. Perek Aleph is Satim. First chapter of Genesis is the Satim, the hidden. The second chapter is the revealed. In the revealed, it's process, it's unfolding, it's the story. Eile toldot shemayim v'aretz. These are the stories, or the unfolding of the heavens and the earth. Yeah. See, neither sunshine from above, nor seed from below, was the cause of tree or plant or grass. Only God above and human below. And thus, in the chronology of the creation story, again, like we said last time, tree is deliberately placed prior to the appearance of the sun. Tree is waiting for us. There was the Satim, and now it was time for the Golia, for the revealed. So tree is super important. And that creator hinged the emergence of tree, as we see in Perek Bet of Bereshit, to the emergence of human. There was no tree because there was no human. Who needs humans? We need it. Tree, so it's like both human and tree were destined to become interdependent. So that as we became the catalyst for trees unfolding in the creation story, tree in turn became the catalyst for our unfolding. The concept of Satim Vegolia, hidden and revealed, is important for our understanding of the use of plant oil, which we take for granted. You go to the store, you buy some plant oil, I'm going to use it on a ritual. You have to understand the meaning of these things. Gewalt. There's so much to learn. It's unbelievable. My God, 4,000 years, we have too much knowledge. We have too much wisdom. Who has time for it all? Unbelievable. It was so much easier when we just read leaves. Now we have to read books about reading leaves. And books that are commentaries on the books about reading leaves. Let alone videos. It's unbelievable. Satim Vegolia, hidden and revealed. Hidden and revealed, hidden and revealed. The difference between plant oil, bark oil, all of that has to do with the nature of this whole concept of the Nekuda Satima, which is another important concept. Nekuda Satima, the hidden point of Genesis. Nekuda Satima, the point of the point of the point of the point. Or in scientific terms, in modern non-Hebraic thinking, the atom. Who knows? The hidden point of Genesis. It's like the teaching of Rabbi Yossi, the 2nd century, Yossi HaGalili, Yossi the Galilean. Very simple creation story. That in the beginning, God only took a rock, only made a stone, and threw it into the abyss, into the empty. And from it, the entire world emerged. Rock and tree. Rock and tree, yeah. Rock-a-bye baby on a treetop. Rock and tree. And then Rabbi Yossi says, Ba Nekuda Satima, Ubo Trin Almin Satimin. And God then created a hidden point. And within that point, within that invisible dot, 2 universes, 2 hidden universes, Almin Satimin, 2 hidden universes. The hidden universe and the revealed universe. The knowable, the known, what we can access, what is tangible, what we can see, feel, know, sense, and the universe within it that is inaccessible, at least immediately. Bara nekuda satima ubotrin almin satimin. So there are universes within universes within universes. A little dot. I mean, think of it. What is a dot? What is a nekuda? A nekuda is a point of infinity in terms of potential and possibility. If you are a writer or an artist, right? So before there were typewriters, you would take a pencil and you make a dot on the paper, and then you, from that dot, are infinite possibilities of what is going to emerge from it. And those infinite possibilities are within you, but they're hidden from you. You don't know. Do you know what you're going to say to somebody on the telephone? No, but when they talk to you, it comes out. There's no script. I marvel at this when I see people talking on the telephone, talking 100 miles an hour, thousands of words emanating from their minds without a script. Where's it coming from? It's coming from the Nakuda Satima. The point of Genesis is an infinite, perpetual force that is within every living being and every creature, every rock, every planet, every star, every human being. And it's here. And it is out of which everything is emerging all the time. So the seed out of which the plant emerges eventually, the seed, the Nakuda Satima, the hidden point of Genesis, hidden within the earth. It enwombs the shoresh, the root. It enwombs the potential and possibility of what is going to grow out of it and everything that is going to center around and be drawn to whatever is going to come out of it. And it's, in essence, the two hidden universes, that of bark and that of leaf, that of revealed and that of concealed. Bark being the concealed universe, leaf being the revealed universe, because the leaf reveals what the bark conceals. Well, you think the leaf just gets its thing from a twig from out of nothing? No, it's all coming up there through there. Right now in March, right now in this month, in Adar. Each realm, that of the bark on the hidden level and the leaf on the revealed level, draws its life force, its oil, from the same one singular root conjured by the seed, by the Nakuda Satima. And the difference, however, is that each translates, each one gives definition to the oil or the juice or the sap of the leaf that emanates from its root in accordance with its respective language. Each translates, gives definition to the juice of the leaf, the oil of the leaf, that is coming all the way from deep within the root, based on its respective language, whether of Satima or Galia, whether of hiddenness, as in bark, or revealedness, as in leaf. And the oils of each are then applied depending upon what is intended. Do you wish to veil, dim, shield, protect, something that needs protection, that needs subduing perhaps? Or is the intent to call forth something that is dormant and needing to be called forth? It's also important to understand that everything that is in creation is made up in a different way of looking at hidden and revealed. Satim Golia is the concept that Rabbi Yehuda Loh of Prague often speaks of back in the 16th century. It was hard for him to speak of it in other centuries because he didn't live in them. You can only speak in the centuries you live in. It's the way God made it. Don't ask me why. So the Maharal, as he was known, Morenu Rablo, often speaks of everything in creation being divvied up into Homer and Tsura. And this is very important for understanding the magic of plant and the magic of anything, but in our case, plant. Homer and Tsura, substance, Homer, and form, Tsura. Form, Tsura, gives a particular shape that defines or identifies the Homer, the substance of which it is made. So you look at a leaf, the first encounter with the leaf is its tsura, its form. Well, if you go deeper, you get to its Homer, its essence. What about its essence creates this form? What is the form telling me in regard to its essence? For example, your substance and mine is flesh and bones, sinews, muscles, arteries, and so on, basically blood and guts, right? And that's our Homer. Our derma, though, our outer skin layer, is what gives form to all of this. Take it away, and we look like a Halloween costume. So in a particular way, that defines or identifies you and me and I as distinct from one another. Our tsura. Take away our skin, and we look alike. Just a bunch of bone and sinews and flesh and blood. It is the tsura, it is the outer garment that we wear. It is the form, the outer appearance of us that is the announcer of us. It is the definer for the outside world of us on the level of pshat. But if a person really wants to get to know you, they have to look behind the skin, behind the outer form, to get to know who you really are. You might look like a nice person, and you can be a terrible person, That's so the tsura and the Homer. The Homer is the essence of the tsura. The tsura gives an outward definition, a literal definition of what it's hiding beneath, what it's covering, what it's blanketing, what it's clothing. Just like the Torah. The Torah. Oh my God. You know what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said about the Torah, right? He said, people who just study the Torah on its surface, it's like saying to somebody, you are a very nice jacket. That's what he said. I didn't make it up. Because the Torah is more than its tsura. The tsura is there for you to have access to its Homer. The tsura is there to draw you into its Homer, into its substance, into its essence, into what it is that it's comprised of, into its mystery, into what it is that it veils. Behind the jacket is a person, and behind the person there's a soul, and behind the soul, a soul within a soul within a soul that infinitum to the Nukuda Satima, likewise with anything else. The leaf is not a leaf. And that's our meager mortal attempt to give it some kind of definition. That's why in the ancient Hebrew you have hardly any words for anything. The tree is etz, finished. Grass, asef. Well, what about different kinds? Don't give me different kinds. Leave me alone. You can't name things because we don't know what they are. We can't know what they are. It's like Akiva said to the poor schleppers that he dragged into the shamanic journey of Pardes. None of them came out unscathed. One died, one went mad, one lost his faith and joined the Moonies. He warned them before they went in, don't call anything for what it is you think it is and what you see. You know, hitzitz v'nifka, hitzitz v'met, hitzitz v'okaret hanetiyot. They look, they peek, you can't help it. You know, we're mortals, we're human beings. We see a tree, that's a tree. A bird, that's a bird. It's a bird, that's a bird. And look, that's a duck. And it's finished. We lost ourselves in the tsura, and the mystery has dissipated. But when you look at a tree next time without thinking tree, and just step back from the way you were raised to define, think of tree, it's going to blow your mind. You're going to come away with a whole different encounter. That tree is going to come alive. The Homer in the tree is going to emerge and show itself if you are wise enough to approach it from your chomriut, not just your tzura, from your mystery, not just your outside appearance. Yep. So this is the mystery behind the application of anything we do with leaves, with plants, oils, medicinal qualities of plants. In separating the chomer from its tsura, we place the chomer, the innards, the medicine of it. We apply our own chomer to it. That's important. You can't just use the chomer of the plant without connecting to that chomer from your own chomer, from our own directive of what we would like that oil to be in that moment. You know, basically, you become its tzura, and that's the magic in these teachings. You know, if you want to connect with the so-called magic or the miracle, the pele of what the Rebbeinu Shalom has infused in the creations, in a stone, in a crystal, in a plant, or whatever, then you have to merge with it in terms of, if it's chomer, you become its tsura, so that you and it become, and that moment, in a partnership. You know, maybe you can best or better understand this idea in terms of the creation of the universe and the story of Bereshit. One, like Rabbi Yossi taught, Nekuda Satima. Bara Nekuda Satima. God created a little teeny tiny, ineffable, unspeakable, undescribable, unmeasurable, hidden point. One seed hidden within the unfathomable, the unknowable. The unknowable, unfathomable what? Thought or intent of God. The machshava of the Creator that then emerged from within to without and said, Yehi or, which is the calling forth of the root of that Nekuda Satima, of that little hidden point of Genesis, the singular root that was enwombed in first thought, in Bereshit, in the hidden point. Yehi or is that little point imploding, exploding itself outward into the rest of Bereshit and everything that came from it. Within the root, sprouting out of the hidden point of beginning, two universes, two realms, that of and that of, that of the revealed and that of the concealed, substance or matter and form, specific definition of that matter, which in turn varies according to the intent of the Creator for this matter to become giraffe and that matter to become bumblebee. and the other Mars, and so on. Any questions so far? Very well. And therefore, yes. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, Rev Gershon, the very first reference when you opened to the Zohar and the connection between the plants and the leaves and the celestial beings. I was curious, what is the Hebrew or Aramaic reference to these celestial beings? Is it a connection with astrology, or is it a connection with angelology, or
Yeah, angelology.
I'm just
That's right.
curious.
Angelology.
Okay.
Yeah, because the language there is that the weavers, you know, the chayot, the ofanim, the weavers of creation. See, like it says, Bidvar Anoi Shemayim Nasu Ruach Piv Kol Tzva'am. So Rabbi Eliezer of Worms, back in the 1100s, he writes like this. He says, what does that mean? It means that when God spoke, the tree came into being, or the animal, the rock came into being. The breath that carried the word became a spirit being. So in between the word, the sound, so to speak, the Vayomer Elohim Yehi, and the Vayehi, and it became, between God saying, let it be, and it becoming, there are these stages. There are these stages of spirit beings, of weavers, of malachim, of Bnei Elohim. There are so many different levels. The Rambam talks about the 10 levels of different weavers that weave the word of God into manifestation. And so the leaves and the wisdom, the Zohar talks there about, is regarding they were able to alter or maneuver or interfere with the process of those phases so that they felt in control. See? And that's what it says in chapter 6 of Bereshit. After Enosh is born, Oz huchal likro b'shem yud he vav he. Then they knew, and they used the word, the name of God, to conjure creation, to conjure things, to conjure the angels even, and make the angels do their bidding, which then led to violence between the angels, who then caught on and said, hey, you know, why don't we just hang around here and take over? Right? All of a sudden there are angels walking the earth, making it with the women. Huh? Where'd that come from all of a sudden? See? So Rashi connects it all to what happened. The misuse of the conjuring and interfering with the weavers, with the spirit weavers, with the malachim, with the ofanim, not the ofanim, but Bnei Elohim, which the Rambam considers as part of those weavers who actually walked the earth to help the first humans get started. That led to these angels then becoming, or choosing to become and live the mortal life. And they fell in love with the women. That's a whole other thing we can learn about if you want to. Yeah. A lot to learn. A lot to learn with these things. Yeah. So yeah. But the language there is the Familia Shel Ma'ala. That's the language the Talmud uses too. The heavenly family. Familia Shel Ma'ala. For example, when the Talmud talks about sorcery in the Sanhedrin, right? So it says, what's the difference between kosher sorcery and treif sorcery? Kosher sorcery is like when you're doing it within the reshus, within the permission. You know, it's part of a tefillah, like this, you meditate in the Sefer Yetzirah. So in other words, you're connecting with everything that has to do with emunah, with bitachon, with the dveikut. And non-kosher sorcery is like hacking. It's mechachashin f'malaya shel ma'ala, the Talmud says. It is interfering with in a behind the back way with the heavenly family and how things are in Seder, in order, in that intent. Have a good night, folks. Nice to see you all, and some of you, and nice to share these beautiful teachings. And there's so much more, and there are absolutely delicious fruit of the tree.
One last question, Rav Gershon, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. One last question is always okay.
So we're the tzura to the plant's chomer generally, or is it
Yeah.
go back and forth? Are we sometimes the chomer and the tzura, or?
Yeah. That's up to you. You can be tzura all your life, but then when you go to the therapist, then you realize that you're chomer too. Sure, we can be tzura. We live in the ego. The ego is a tzura in kind of way, you know. It protects the id. You know. That's why we study Musar, so we can live both, so we can be echad b'peh, echad b'lev. We can be on the outside what we are on the inside.
And specifically with the plants, are we the tzura, or are we sometimes the chomer too?
That's depends what you're doing with the plant. You have to be the tzura. First of all, you have to marry the plant. In other words, you have to be tzura with the plant. You have to be in a relationship with the plant, right? Like Martin Buber, I thou instead of I it. Right? You have to be in a relationship with it. You know, you have to sit with it, talk with it, maybe send it a text, you know, give it a little water, and sit with it in terms of relating to it, to its chomer, not to its tzura, because you want to be the tzura of it so that you can embody it and it can embody you. So you're sitting with the plant and meditating, visually or non-visually, to the point where you begin to no longer see the plant, like Akiva in Pardes, where you no longer are thinking or calling it or defining it in your mind or perceiving it as that which it appears, but as mystery. Going beyond the camouflage to its essence. Only then will its essence reveal itself. Otherwise, it'll just show what you want to see.
So we like that. So then we're going back to Nakuda Stima through that, like by uniting, becoming one. That's the oneness.
Yeah,
Healing the split.
Yeah, you're joining into the Nakuda Satima, into the beginning of the beginning. Very, very important to always be in that consciousness. You know. You're only here for the weekend. We want to know everything. You know. There's a lot to learn, a lot to know, little by little by little. But Nakuda Satima is very important. It's where everything is. It's where you can find it all. Im chamat modim techapsena os tovin. King Solomon said that. If you will search it out like you were digging for a treasure, then you will understand it. You got to go deep. But the way to go deep is to slowly sink. Otherwise, you just create a lot of mess. So have a nice slow sinking. We are over and out on this end.
Thank you, Rav Gershon.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Bye.
May the Schwartz be with you. Yes.
Uman. Uman too. Uman Matashana.